All right, everybody. Today we've got Sarah Bourke from Coldwell Banker West. She's one of the top real estate agents in San Diego, and she's got over 20 years experience in real estate. Today we're going to talk about market trends in San Diego and what buyers and sellers can expect getting into the San Diego markets today. How's it going, Sarah?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you. Like the biggest question on everybody's mind is, are home prices dropping in San Diego?
It's a good question. I'm getting it asked a lot. And yeah, there are definitely areas where prices are dropping. We're not seeing the multiple offers on day one like we had previously seen a year or two ago. But what I would say is that it's becoming a more balanced market. Buyers are definitely able to have more negotiating powers, and sellers really need to make sure they're pricing strategically out of the gate in order to get a good price point for their home. I would say my advice to everyone is don't just read the national health headlines. You really need to have an agent who can look into that local area because it's definitely hyper local on what prices are doing. There's still very desirable areas in San Diego that are holding value, and then there are others that may be dropping a little. Definitely important to work with an agent that understands that.
Is it like a market crash that's coming, or is it, are the prices just leveling out? What do you think? Because that's the other question that people hit me with all the time. So I'm going to wait to, not a question with a statement. It's like, I'm going to wait until the crash. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. I think that people do think that, but we are not in a situation where we have subprime lending from 2008. We don't have that situation now. We definitely are seeing a readjustment from COVID that definitely skewed the market. Obviously, we were having interest rates that were so rock bottom that people were able to qualify for more. So it shot prices up. People were able to move. There's a lot of factors that go into play here, but the biggest thing is that it's kind of now becoming more of a balanced market where it's not only a seller's market and it's not just a buyer's market, which means that both need to do their research and make sure they're coming to the market strong. And I definitely don't see a crash coming, but I think it was time that we did have a balancing in the market. So that's more what buyers and sellers can expect. Big players in that will be interest rates and also the amount of homes on the market and where you're interested in looking as a buyer or and where you're selling as a seller.
And that makes sense. San Diego is uniquely positioned where everybody wants to live here. Now we have people from all over the country who are just like, I work from home. I might as well do it from San Diego. And, we see people living here all the time and scooping up that property. I don't think we're going to have any type of crash here in San Diego. But it's just an interesting thing because some people are waiting for that. Not everybody, but some people think that that's what they're waiting for. One thing that I think is awesome about the more balanced market too is if you are selling and you're worried about like, my property value is dropping. But if you're selling and then buying something else, and it works both ways. Like maybe you don't sell as high as you thought you would, or like compared to maybe 6 or 8 or 12 months ago. But at the same time, going to buy another property, you're going to enjoy those benefits that the buyers are getting right now. Where, like you said, there's a little more give, right?
Right. Yeah. I think it's important for sellers, especially, to get that Zestimate that they saw a year or two ago emailed to them out of their head, um, because you can't hold on to that number. It's not realistic anymore. And it doesn't mean, like you said, that you don't have a lot of equity and that you can't cash out on that and purchase something else for a great price now. Because if you sell for 100 or 200,000 less than you thought, maybe you can buy for 100 or 200,000 less than you thought as well. So it does kind of balance things out, and that's the benefit, right? And buyers have a lot more negotiating power right now, as far as there's just not those multiple offers that we were seeing before, which gives you, um, you know, the negotiating power is definitely a huge key for buyers right now. If interest rates drop, that could change really quickly. I think there's a lot of buyers in the sidelines, and I think it is a great time for buyers right now to get out there and buy something. You can always refinance a interest rate, but once those interest rates drop and you're competing again against other buyers that might be all cash, might be better qualified, have more money down, all those things, you're really going to put yourself at a disadvantage. So I guess my message would be if you want to sell now, great. It's a great time to buy once you sell. But if you want to buy now and you're holding back, I would say that's a mistake. I would definitely encourage people to take advantage of other people's fear in the market and other people waiting, because that's actually a huge benefit right now to buyers.
So speaking of buyers, then how do you know you're making a competitive offer as a buyer, but not like overshooting it or, overpaying for the house?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, running a market analysis on a home is something I do in any market, but it's changed a little bit in this market because of how many have been sitting. So, it's really important to look at not only the active solds, but also the pendings. So, what homes in that area are really selling for today, not a month ago, not 2 months ago, but it's really important to get a full scope of today's value as opposed to past numbers. And the other thing to always keep in mind is that when you're working with a professional agent like myself, we also call the listing agent. We find out things like, what is the seller's motivation? What terms are they looking for? How do we make this offer stronger without maybe necessarily offering more money, but giving them something else they want? Maybe it's closing quicker. Maybe it's, that they could have a rent back, anything that your buyer is willing to do and not maybe spend more than they need to. So I always explore all avenues, because sometimes it's not about price, it's also about terms. So I want to come in strong enough to get an offer accepted, but I also don't want to overspend in order for that to happen. So there's a balance there, and a lot of it is doing the research.
I think that's a good point on how to highlight the difference between a really good real estate agent and somebody who is just kind of trying to make sales. Because being on the loan officer side, I see a lot of offers go out from a lot of different caliber real estate agents. And the ones that aren't as sharp are the ones who are just like trying to get the offer accepted no matter how much it costs the buyer. Whereas the really good agents are like coming from the mindset of they want to protect the buyer's assets and get them, you know, to a point where they're not overspending for a house, like we just mentioned. And I think a lot of people might miss that, because it's hard to know unless you're in it, or hard to see that distinction, especially, in the age of social media where you have a bunch of agents and loan officers, who are just like, I'm the best and I do this and that. And so it's hard to distinguish who's going to really like fight for you and who's just going to like fight for their commission.
Yeah, I think it's an important differentiation between who you work with. It really does matter. I think for myself, no matter if I am working with somebody who's a first time home buyer or a very wealthy investor, really learning what they want and what they need and what their parameters are and how much they can spend and how much they want to spend and what their goals are, and really working with them on getting what they want for a price that works for them. And it's about the relationship. I would never put my clients in a situation where they weren't comfortable in order for me to get a paycheck. I do take a lot of pride in that, because this is a relationship based business and people trust you. They put a lot of trust in you. It's a lot of time the biggest purchase somebody will ever make. And to have somebody in their corner that is going to fight for them and get them the best deal or get the most amount of money for their home is what we're ultimately here for. And it's very personal to me. It's not just business. So I definitely feel like that is something that you don't get with every agent.
True. So speaking of like pricing and getting buyers the best deal that they can get, are buyers in this market justified lowballing offers?
I think lowballing in any market can be a big turnoff for a seller. If you are working with an agent who has done their research, they should be able to advise you on an offer that is fair for the value of the property, whether it be lower than the asking price or not. So if a property was well overpriced and had been sitting on the market for quite a bit of time, there may be a justified lowball offer where you can, back it up with market statistics and share that with the listing agent. But I would never say just throwing lowballs in is ever going to get you the house at a lower price, especially if it's priced well and the listing agent is experienced and knows what they're doing. It can often sour a relationship from the beginning and actually lose you the property.
That makes sense because a lot of people, I think, get caught up in that Facebook marketplace, offer up bidding style, but this is a different ballgame.
Well, it definitely is. It's a lot more money. It's a lot bigger investment, but
Yeah.
also as a listing agent, when I do see those come through, I also have to ask myself, even if we were willing to take this price, is this a serious buyer? From Facebook Marketplace, half those people don't even show up
Yeah.
or really even want it. They just want to see if they can get it for that price.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's what low ballers are people that are just throwing numbers out and they're not serious about starting an escrow and completing it. And my job as a listing agent isn't just to open an escrow so it can fall apart because we have a buyer that isn't serious about the property. As listing agents, want to make sure that any offer we accept is going to make it to the finish line for our clients. So we're not wasting time on market and, um, you know, wasting anybody's money or time.
But from the seller perspective, they are obviously conscious about the price that they want to list at, right? And some people think, we should put it up there for top dollar and see what happens. Other people think, maybe we should be a little bit more realistic. And then the other third is like, well, let's put it low and, get some traction and get some buyers, drum up some interest in the property. What do you think is the best strategy?
I think a realistic listing price always attracts the most serious and probably the buyers that are going to, like I said, make it to the finish line. When you come in too high, it makes people hold off that may have been interested in the property. And then the property sits and gets a stigma and has to take price drops. And then ultimately, usually you end up selling the property for less than what you would have if you had just started off with a realistic number. Starting too low is a strategy. Pricing is a strategy. We also have to remember that. A lot of times people think, oh, if I price my home at this price, that's what I'm going to get. No, it's not. It's a number that you're offering out there and you're waiting to see how people respond to that number. So if you go too low, sometimes it does drum up a lot of interest and you could get multiple offers that could bring it back up. However, if that didn't happen, then you're stuck because now that is your baseline and people think that that's where the house should sell. So that is I like to be very strategic when I price a home. And I think that getting the most amount of serious buyers is to come in at a realistic price. And it's been proven that that is the best way to hit the market, to come in with a good price, to have the house show well. Buyers these days are looking on social media more than ever. They don't necessarily need buyers agents to find all their houses. They're on Redfin, Zillow, all the apps you can think of, looking every day when they want to buy something. So they kind of have an idea not only of price now, but that first impression is out in front of them before we even sometimes get to present some of the homes on the market to them. It's really important to price well from the beginning.
Okay, that makes sense. What's one thing you wish every new buyer or seller knew before stepping into this market today?
Well, when I work with new buyers, first of all, that's probably my favorite clients are first time home buyers because it's such a rewarding thing to work with them from the beginning and kind of inform them and educate them all the way through and see them reach their goals. But the most important thing that first thing we go over is being prepared, which means getting pre approved, really knowing what they want, not only neighborhood, but their must haves, must not haves, really drilling down and making sure that we're not going into the market willy nilly and not knowing what they'll qualify for, what they really want, what neighborhood, because that is going to waste everybody's time. And then on the sell side, I think it's really important to be prepared and to price your home right from the get go. And I love staging homes unless your home is just immaculate already, which some people's are, but staging makes a big difference. Having everything cleaned out, fresh paint makes a huge difference. But just presenting it to the market in a way where it is desirable from day one and not wasting that time going, oh, we should have priced it here. Oh, we should have painted this or cleaned out that room or whatever the case may be. But it's just to answer your question in one word, it's being prepared.
So you've worked with first-time home buyers, investors, luxury clients, sitting in your own real estate. What would you say is something that sets you apart from most agents?
Yeah, I enjoy working with all types of different buyers and sellers. I think that the most important thing to me is the relationship aspect and putting that care and attention into every purchase or sale, and whether it's a $600,000 condo or a multi-million dollar home, the same amount of education, time, care, communication goes into each one of my deals. And I think that that's what sets me apart is that I'm willing to take that time to kind of explain every single step of the process to my clients. Some clients have done 20 deals and they kind of get it, but I can still share different strategies that they may not know or may not have thought of that could work out to save them money or time or get them a property. Whereas, first time home buyers, it may be as simple as sitting down and explaining the contract and so that they feel confident in understanding what they're signing. But all of that is something I take the time to do. So I think that's what sets me apart.
I think that shows in your reviews too. Like if you look at any one of your reviews, people are very happy to work with you. And it shows obviously in, the sales that you've had and things like that and the success that you've had. But I think that is a big differentiator because some people just, again, are in, you know, like you said, if it's a $600,000 house, some people may be calculating their commission already and comparing that to a multi-million dollar house and thinking what their commission would be on that. And they don't necessarily give the same love. Right. And I have to do that too from a loan perspective because some people are getting, I don't know, a manufactured home and it's $150,000 and other
Right.
people are getting, $2 million house and there's a difference, but you have to bring them that same level of care and not like put people on the back burner.
Of course. Yeah. I think it's really important, especially because this is a life changing purchase, whether you're buying a $150,000 mobile home or you're buying a $4 million mansion. It's a huge commitment for people to spend. It's a lot of money, regardless. And also, I mean, I'm sure for you and I, we've both known that people that maybe they buy a $400,000 condo, they may refer you to their friends who want to buy a $2 million house. So to me, it's more just about having the relationships and treating everyone the same because you never know, first of all, what business is going to come out of that because they're happy to have worked with you, but also just because they're people. And I want to take care of my clients. It makes me feel good at the end of the day. I get a lot of satisfaction with being able to see people reach their goals. And yeah, to your point, I feel really blessed that I can do this for people every day. And the reviews tear me up because sometimes they're just so heartfelt and you feel like you've actually really helped someone make a huge change in their life. And it's very fulfilling and it brings me a lot of pride.
It's worth all the stress.
Definitely. Don't ask me when I'm in a really bad transaction, but I will tell you right now, it definitely is. It makes you feel good at the end of the day when you can read what it meant to somebody when you're dealing with all your stresses of making sure that this transaction stays together. But at the end of the day, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah. Somebody told me one time, he said, he said, I'm not after your commission. I'm after your friends, And I was like, okay, I respect that. Like, yeah. And
Yeah.
that's really where it's at. It's growing the network and helping more people and just helping people accomplish those goals. And then the commission comes, obviously. But that's the biggest thing is the network and the friends and the
Yeah.
people that you can help along the way. Speaking of helping people, what would you say is your secret sauce for helping you sell a home faster than like the average agent?
I think it's the care beforehand. It's all about being prepared, getting the house, cleaned out if it needs that, getting it staged, spending the money to take professional pictures, also videos, marketing it correctly from the get go, pricing it correctly. It's all about the things that happen behind the scene before it hits the market. I really feel that it is, you can't cut corners. You just have to do it right from the beginning. And sometimes it's hard conversations. Sometimes, somebody's house may smell and you don't want to be the one saying, smells in here. But that's the first thing a potential buyer is going to notice when they walk in that home. So as a professional, I have, obviously it's not my favorite thing to do, but sometimes you have to be honest and you have to tell people things that they may not either know or they may not want to hear. They may have a collection of trinkets from all over the world that they think are the best things in the entire world, and they could be. But if we're trying to market your home, maybe that's not the best place to display them. So things like that, that sometimes, you want to be very careful how you word that. But end of the day, my job is to sell their home for top dollar. So sometimes we have to have those uncomfortable conversations, but I think most people appreciate it because they get that my heart is in the right place, because I want that impression of that buyer when they walk in to say, wow, I love this home, not ew.
100%. I expect it. So speaking of the marketing aspect of it too, from a seller's perspective, if I'm looking for a real estate agent who is going to help me sell this house for top dollar, right, and get it to the finish line, how could I tell the difference between an agent who is going to market the home properly versus somebody who's really just going to kind of put the listing up and then sit at a few open houses and maybe take pictures of the house on their iPhone? Can you know that up front, or do you just have to kind of feel it out?
Well, you can read the reviews. That's a big thing. A lot of times it'll be very telling in the reviews, and you can look at their past listings. So you can look at their pictures. You can see their marketing style, and see if it, flows with you, and you feel like that would be a way you want your home marketed. As listing agents, when we meet with our potential sellers, a lot of times we'll show them this is what we do. So they have to put some level of trust in us, because a lot of the work that we do is behind the scenes. Yes, we hold open houses, but there's so much more to it than that. We go on caravans, I send multiple emails to other agents within my own brokerages and outside as well. It's also just all kinds of things that you may or may not think of, but networking with other agents and kind of always making it top of mind for people. There's advertising in publications. There's just a ton of different ways, social media, that we as professional real estate agents market it. It's not just putting it on the MLS and hoping that it sells. There's a lot more that goes into it behind in the scenes for sure.
I think that's an important distinction, what you just said, to professional real estate agents. That's who you want to work with, as a professional.
Yeah.
You can be licensed and you can help people buy and sell homes, and that's great. Or you can be a professional real estate agent and really kick ass for your clients. And obviously that's the caliber that you're at. If you could predict the market, like in the next 12 months in San Diego, what's one thing that buyers or sellers should know?
I just think that we are moving more towards a balanced market. It's going to be hard to predict whether prices go up, down. That is going to be primarily based on the amount of inventory and the interest rates. So it's really hard to play the guessing game because we've heard that interest rates are going to drop for the last
3 years,
exactly
every September.
And now we're hearing that they're going to drop again next month. I think that no matter what, it's going to be important to, sellers. There's no timing in the market. If you need to sell your home for whatever reason it may be, you're moving, there's a baby coming, death, whatever it could be, there's a ton of different reasons people buy and sell. But whenever that time comes, you just need to work with somebody who can get your house sold for the most amount of money. And whether you're buying, it's the same thing on the flip side. I don't think that it makes necessarily sense to wait to buy. It's when you need to buy is when people usually buy. Like, same thing, family's growing, maybe you're downsizing, you're an empty nester. It's more about working with somebody who can guide you to make a smart decision. And then, you always, they can guide you throughout. So in 6 months from now, if I have a buyer who buys now and has no competition and gets a great deal for a home, but they had a high interest rate, I'll ping them in 6 months and say, hey, interest rates dropped. You should refinance. And I don't do that selfishly. I make nothing from that. But guess what? They appreciate it. And when they have a friend who's looking to work with a realtor, they refer me because they know that I don't just see the transaction closed and move on. I want that relationship for life, for them to refer me and to use me again when they're ready to sell that property. So yeah, I think that the market's always changing. We can't base when we buy or sell only on the market. Sometimes it's just what you need to do for your family changing life. So,
Timing the market is tough. Like I say, time in the market, not timing the market. And I think that's a big thing too, because you zoom out, things are appreciating at a very good rate. Like even if we have these little dips and things like that, I mean, somebody who's selling right now that bought 3 or 5 years ago, they're still getting a massive amount of appreciation based on what they spent originally and what it's worth now. So even if they, like 100 or 2,000, 100,000 or 200,000 less than what they thought it would be because they were looking at 6 months ago or a year ago, they're still up 300,000 or whatever it is. They're still winning. But
oh,
it's that
hugely.
Zestimate, like you said, you look
Yeah.
at that Zestimate, you start burning yourself a little bit. Okay, cool. Well, this has been super informative. Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to do this. If I'm a buyer or seller and I'm in San Diego and I want to work with you, how do I get in contact with you?
Well, easiest way is my phone number, which is 619-972-9462. I have a website, sarahsd.com. If you Google Sarah Bourke Realtor, you'll find me, all my contact information. Yeah, any way you want to reach out, text, phone call, email, you can definitely reach me. I would love to work with you. And yeah, San Diego is a great place to invest. To your point, the appreciation is amazing here because it's America's finest city.
That's right.
Best place to live.
Place to live, absolutely.
The best. Yes, yes.
I
So,
fully.
yeah, no, looking
Sarah
forward
Bourke,
to it.
everybody.
Thank you.